Yeah. So what's wrong with my belching?
Well, it's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just odd. And now, mind you, I'm an odd guy. I belch and fart and spit and all sorts of stuff. But it's just weird when it comes to a podcast, like belching into the microphone.
If you really want to know why I do it, it's because Howard Stern does it on his show, and I think it's so funny and so inappropriate
Yeah, yeah.
that
It's just odd. And to tell you the truth, I never thought about it until yeah, it was maybe two podcasts ago, in the middle of a story. You were like, and
yeah.
I was
What's
thinking,
it?
oh, he just belched into the mic.
Yeah, because I'm drinking Coke Zero. There's two things that I've done in my career because I thought it sounded cool. One was belching into the mic. I actually thought it sounded cool, like Howard Stern, if I'm being honest. And the other thing was,
What, cussing out my bosses on the air.
yeah, just saying like, having this fictitious boss. That's always the thing. I always thought that was funny that like people never picked up on that. You know what I mean? Like I remember when we worked at 80NX and I was on in the afternoon, people would be like, "Oh my gosh, Dave and Chuck are to be so much trouble for talking about the boss on the air." And I'm like, dude, he's in like that's a bit. Like they're not really talking about the boss. They're talking about the boss, like the boss.
Like the man.
Yeah, and then I remember when they left, people would always be like, I heard they left because of those shitty computers you guys had. And I was like, what? Like, also a bit like that we have crappy equipment and nothing works around here so that you seem relatable to the average man who's like, oh my gosh, at my work, we also have crappy computers that don't work as well.
Right.
But like,
Your stuff's all busted up, and just
yeah,
like me doing a podcast in my basement, we're dealing with the same equipment.
exactly. But it's so funny, especially with the bit about like the boss. Like, we're going to be in big trouble if we keep talking about this. It's like, you really think that they don't know that you're talking about this? They knew everything. So that was always so funny to me. But the one thing that I did do, Drew and Mike back in the day used to like they would let like the intro of their show like go way longer than it should have. Like it'd be like Drew and 101 the riff, Drew and Mike in the morning. So anyways, then he would come on, Drew would come on, and I thought it sounded like they were so like busy prepping that like when I first started the morning show, I did the same thing. Like I let it run. And then they brought in a consultant who was like, if there's more than 2 seconds, they'll fire you. Get to it. So if you listen to the old Callan Company stuff, it'd be like, live from the Buff Whalen Chevrolet Panic Room, it's Callan Company. Hey, everybody, good morning. How are you? Like, I was so quick because they were like, yeah, no, like you cannot stall for any amount of time. So that was my life. But yeah, I tried that one time and they were like, no, don't.
No, we're not doing this.
Yeah, like,
It's
what are you
funny
doing?
because on 97.1, Mike Valeni, I don't know if he does it so much anymore, but he used to always like crack on his boss. And I know who his boss is. Like we're acquaintances. And the dude is so nice.
Well, and that's the thing. Valeni is a lot of things, but he's a great showman, is what I'll say about him.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
he plays a character on the radio. Joe knows him. I know him. He's a decent guy. I like him as a person. He's learned to play the villain.
Oh, for sure.
He's learned that if you say the right things, you can piss off all the Michigan fans.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you say the right things, you get all the staters on your side. And he just twists the knife just enough. Now, that whole bit with, him almost being fired over the Lions was in fact true. Like that did happen. That he talked so much crap about the Lions that they allegedly called and said, if you don't fire him, we will not renew the contract to have the Lions on your station.
Correct. Yeah.
Management was smart enough to realize that just so everybody knows, running the Lions on your station is a lose money situation. You have to pay the Lions to run their games, and then in return, you're allowed to sell advertising. But you'd have to sell the advertising at such a high cost to recoup the money. Really, the only reason that you want the Lions on your radio station is so that you can say to the car dealership down the street, we're the Lion station. And with that, if you buy advertising, we'll give you 15 tickets per game.
Okay.
So it's kind of like you're going to lose money on this. They call it a lost leader. Have you heard of this before? I'm sorry if I got really boring. So
no,
a lost,
no.
so lost leader.
I love these little times when you give us like a peek behind the curtain.
Well, good. Hopefully people enjoy it. So yeah. So the deal is that it costs for them to run the Red Wings, the Lions, and the Tigers on that station. They have to pay out a ton of money. And again, with that comes that X number of times an hour. The Lions get a commercial that runs during there, so they don't even get to sell that. You know what I'm saying? Like that just comes with it. And so, but again, saying you're the station that has the Lions, or saying and you got a suite there, and you get all the stuff that goes along with it, and you can say to your top advertisers, guess what? Before the game, we'll let you watch warm-ups from the field. That has cachet. Like it definitely is worth something.
Sure. Yeah.
So what they realized with Valenti was that when he was talking bad about it and they said they wanted him fired, they're making way more money with Valenti's radio show, which I don't know what it's called now. The Mike Valenti show, but he just put Rico Beards on there now too. So
I don't know if Rico started.
Well, I saw his tweet there today that he was going to be joining the show. He's good. I like him.
Yeah, he is joining the show, but I don't think he's started yet.
Well, it used to be called the Mike Valenti show, but I don't know if they're going to change that now that Rico's on the show. Who knows? I mean, like we've talked about before with Howard Stern. Howard Stern has a cast of characters, but it's still called the Howard Stern show. But anyway, they're making way more money with Mike's show by himself, paying him what he's getting paid, than they would be with the Lions. Plus, they already have the Tigers and the Red Wings, which cost them a ton of money. It was a good business move on their part. I think the Lions are great. It's fun to have them on your station, but I don't think you're
16 weeks a year,
and you're going to not pay the bills with it. Like that's the other thing. You're not
like you can't get rid of somebody like Valenti, who is nationwide sought after. He continues to stay from understanding. He continues to stay in Detroit, even though he's had offers from huge markets. Yeah, he's from New York, but
we have the same agent. Did you know that? Did you know that we have the same agent? Yeah. So I mean, technically, I don't know that I still have an agent, but he would answer my call if I called him. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, he would answer my call. He's a good guy. His name's Mort Miser. He's a good dude. But yeah, so we have the same agent, and so I've met him through Mort quite a few times. But yeah, good guy. And you used to play basketball with him, right?
Yeah, when I used to work for the Salvation Army. Yeah, when I used to work for the Salvation Army, I was a community center director, and Mike had just come to town. I mean, that's how long ago this was. He had just come to town, and like him and all his buddies, a lot of the on-air guys, a lot of the, production guys would get together one night a week or 2 nights a week and just play basketball. So they'd come and rent out the gym.
Because he's living in Royal Oak, I think, right? I don't know if I'm not speaking out of school, am I? If I saying that?
I think he lives in the area. I think he lives in the area.
I was going to say, because I think he's talked about it on his show that he lives around Royal Oak area.
Yeah.
I don't know where he lives.
I'm guessing he probably lives somewhere local. Again, listening to him talk.
Well, yeah. And here's the thing: according to the consultants, you should always say the names of your children, your wife's name. But you don't ever say my wife Wendy. I'm just supposed to say Wendy, and you're supposed to know who that is, and you're supposed to say exactly, almost to the the house number where you live, so that people can be like, oh my gosh, I go to that 7-Eleven that's at 13 in Maine.
Right.
Like the more local you can get it, because they would be like, well, you listen to Howard Stern. He's never going to talk about Detroit or talk about the 7-Eleven at 13 in Maine and Royal Oak. But if you talk about it, more people will listen to you.
Well, that's what I've been telling you for.
I'm in my basement doing a podcast for.
That's what I've been telling you to do for how many years? Like 2 years for us doing this podcast. I'm like,
oh, if you're going to say the high school idea, I'm
like, let's just talk. Our niche is here. Our niche is we talk about who we know and where we go. In fact, that should be our new tagline. The Cal Cagno Show. We talk about who we know and where we go, and and that's it. But yeah. So what started this whole thing?
I don't know. You were talking about burping on the air and me trying to sound like Howard Stern.
That's right.
Did you ever know someone talked about me and Howard Stern, that Howard Stern said he wishes he was me?
No.
Did you ever hear this story? I'll tell everybody's story. So I'll just tell it. It's fine.
Yeah, I said no, but now that I'm thinking about it, you got to tell the story. But I think I remember you telling me the story, but I don't remember anything about it.
Okay, so this was many, many, many years ago. So this was before I was even married. I wasn't even dating.
Wait, let me throw this out there to see if I'm on track. It deals with. Does it deal with someone who was an intern at 89X and then went? Okay, so go on. Yeah.
So that's it. So here's the deal. So there was a girl. So I was 21 at the time, just to be clear. This girl was 18 at the time, to be clear. So everyone was of age. I don't want there to be any confusion. She was one of our interns. I was single. This was before I was even with Wendy. And she and I were friendly. That's all I'll say. Like, we weren't like, we were friendly. We would hang out, whatever. There was nothing more than just some people hanging out. Okay, right. That's all I'll say.
Sure.
For real.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so she
totally
left ADNX and wanted to be on Howard Stern to be an intern there. So she asked if we would be able to write her a letter of recommendation. So I did, and she got on the show. So she, would call and be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm working on Howard Stern." Well, then she called me one day and was like, "Hey, just a heads up, I was just on there for the intern beauty pageant, and they talked about you." And I was like, "They talked about me." She's like, "Yeah, but like I did a good job to make sure like no one knew it was you, blah, blah, blah." So I ended up watching this on E. Like, you remember when he had the E show?
Yeah.
So it was on E, like maybe, I don't know, a month later. Someone said, "Oh, it's going to be on tonight." So I watched it. And I remember sneaking down, because I thought my wife would be mad, sneaking down like in my house in Ferndale and like watching it on the basement TV where I used to watch squiggly porn every once in a while, because it came in on like channel 189 on. This was pre-internet, folks. This was the saddest moment of my life. Anyways, I watched it in the basement, and she was on the intern beauty pageant, and that was something I used to do on the show. So these girls would come on there, or guys. Was there guys ever?
I don't know. I never really watched the show.
Yeah. So anyway, so it was girls only, and they would come on there, and it wasn't like they were naked, but she like played the piano and sang. So she gets done. And he's like, "Oh, you're so hot." He's doing the Howard Stern, like, "You're so hot, blah, blah, blah." Well, Fa Baba Booey comes on and says, Hey, both. He goes, "Just want you to know that at her last station, she used to hook up with one of the guys that worked there." And he goes, "Oh my God, tell me his name. I wish I was him. I'm so jealous of him. Tell me who it is. You just say his name." And she's like, "No, you know what? Like, I don't want to do that to him. He's engaged now. Like, it was cool, but like it was fun, but like, no." And he's like, "Oh my gosh, I'll give you anything. Do you want $1,000? I will give you anything you want. You have to say his name. He's the luckiest guy. I wish I was him." This is Howard Stern talking about me. She deflected most of it. It ended up not like, she didn't say my name, which was kind of funny now looking back, because it wasn't really
Say my name.
And then Beyonce heard it and wrote that song.
Right.
Little did you know that that's actually where it came from. So that's my brush with being on Howard Stern. So anybody who's a big fan of Howard Stern probably doesn't remember that, but it is kind of cool to have, Gary Baba Booey and Howard Stern indirectly speaking about you and what a man you are. But I will say, like, it was pretty PG, so I can't say she didn't deny that part of it. Like, I think they thought I was much more of a man than I was, but it was pretty PG. So
now, do you watch Ozark?
No. So here's the thing. Ozark, I've heard great things about. Everyone says it's an awesome show. It's got what's his name, right? Bateman. Justine Bateman. It's got Justine Bateman and Nick. Remember Nick was her boyfriend on
Family Strokes or whatever.
Family Strokes. That's a different website. Family Strokes. Really?
What was it called? Family Stroke. Family Ties. Yeah.
There was Different Strokes.
Different Strokes. There
and
you go.
Family Ties. They're two different shows. But yeah.
Mixed up.
Okay. So anyways, you watch Ozarks?
I do, and
There's no S, I don't think. And that's the other thing. I sound like my mom, who used to call it Merwins. Do you watch Merwins?
Right.
Do you watch
or my grandma, who called it Jerry Seinfeld. Joe, do you watch Jerry Seinfeld? It's a funny show.
Darn, I don't watch that. You're like, first of all, it's Seinfeld, and his first name's not in the title of the show.
Right. Well, so apparently, if those of you that are out there who watch Ozark, one of the episodes in season 3, it ends up that the wife and her brother are sleeping in the parking lot of like a Walmart, and sheriffs come up to the car and knock on the window, and she has this interaction with this female sheriff. Come to find out, I've been punched in the face by that female sheriff who was on there. In real life, her name is Danielle. I know her as Danny. She's
an actress now?
Yeah, she's a good friend of mine. his ex-wife. And
Good
so,
friend. Do I know the friend? Or do you not want to say?
no, I don't know if you do or not. I'm not going to say his name, but
Yeah,
I
fine.
work with him.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, so his ex-wife, like when they were going through their divorce, she was like, you know what, I'm going to move to Atlanta and become an actress. And I was remember thinking in my head, like, Atlanta,
Yeah,
like I
you're
know,
like,
you know, you go to like LA to be an actress, or you go to like
big
New
mama's
York
telling me,
to be
yeah.
like on Broadway. But I've
Hey, hang
never
on.
heard of anyone going to Atlanta.
You couldn't hear me singing there, could you?
I did, I
Oh, because
could,
I was
but I was
thinking of
trying to get my thought out. To the streets.
all the parties at the limousines. Okay,
That is
so
such a great song.
okay, so
I
she went
love
down to
Poison. I
yeah,
love
she went down
Poison.
to Atlanta and did what? She became an actress. Good for her.
So she became an actress. So she's been so in the. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I did not recognize her. Then, like the next
She
day
looks a
at
bit
work,
different.
I would say not for the better. I would
I
say not.
know.
For the better.
Well, that's my point.
Yeah,
Usually,
yeah.
usually when someone comes up to you that you've known in your past and you don't recognize them, it's not because they look so great. You're never like, oh my God, you're smoking hot. It's always like, oh my God, you put on 700 pounds.
I wouldn't say that. She just looks different. Like she just looks different. So
Okay.
anyway, the next day at work, like my buddy's like, "Hey, do you watch Ozark?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you see that Danielle was in it?" And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Danielle's in it. She plays a cop." Well, my immediate thought went to this one scene, and I was like, "Well, what scene?" But that's the only one that I could kind of think that he was describing. So he pulls it up on his phone, and it's that scene, and it's Danielle. And so Danielle again was one of my really good friends, and I was divorced.
Joe,
Yeah.
that broke up. It got kind of bubbly. It kind of got bubbly. Danielle was what? Just say it again.
So Danielle was my good buddy's wife at the time. This was
At the
like maybe
time.
like 3 years ago, 4
Did
years
I
ago.
meet her at your house one time?
No, I don't think you've ever met her.
Okay.
And so I had just gotten divorced. I was maybe a few months divorced or something like that, a year about. And I get invited to a Halloween party. So I go to a Halloween party with this girl that I was like kind of hanging out with. We go to this Halloween party.
Was it that intern from 80 on X? Was it her?
Maybe. And as I'm walking up to the front door, the first person to come out of the house was Danielle. So Danielle comes out.
She's slurring her speech. Is like, I'm going to be at Ozarks one day. You're like, what does that even mean?
Like, what? Exactly. What? And she goes, "You're here. I love you." And I'm like, "Oh, cool. Yeah, we made it." She's like, "I love you." And I go, "Yeah, great.
Oh, you
we're
love
here."
her. She's drunk.
So like as we're walking up, so everybody else starts to come out of the house. Like everyone's checking to see like, oh, someone else is here. So a couple more people are stepping out on the porch. And as I go to introduce the girl who I was with to some of my buddies, I get sucker punched.
Good.
Like straight up cold cocked. Wasn't even looking. Took a shot right to like the hinge of the jaw and like the ear. Like saw stars. The world is spinning.
You didn't mention this party was in Hazel Park because that's how they do it in HP.
It was out in Auburn Hills.
Oh yeah, for sure. Pontiac Heights.
No, super nice neighborhood. Like the cheapest house is like, $600.
Auburn Hills has some really nice places. I'm just joking. Don't fight me.
I get tagged, and like the world's spinning, and I'm trying to figure out what just happened. All of a sudden, dummy Danielle goes, "I said I love you."
Oh, so it's really all about the love.
And
back.
I go, I only say I love you to my mom and my kids. Like, I'm not saying I love you to you, in front of your husband.
Yeah.
Like, so it was like one of those things where my head was spinning. And like the whole rest of the night, like, oh, she was like an absolute a-hole. Well, then it comes to find out her and my buddy get a divorce. And I'm like, thank God they got a divorce. And she moves away to Atlanta. And I'm like, see you, sucker. Good luck trying to make it in Atlanta. Who goes to Atlanta? Now I see her on Ozark. And
good for her.
and so she's a sheriff. She plays a sheriff on Ozark. I look up her like IMDb, and she's been in like 29 movies. 25 of them, she plays a police officer, a detective, a security guard, or something along those lines.
Yeah,
There were 4 appearances that she was either, an extra
slut
or
number 6. Was she slut number 6?
never. She was, but in like 4 parts, she was like just like a nobody, but everything else,
Right.
she's got like the cop routine down.
Yeah, my cousin is in. My cousin, he's my cousin. What would you do? My cousin is in movies. We actually had him on the show one time when I was on the radio, and he thought I was my dad. Because he's my mom's cousin, so he's my second cousin, so he's probably got to be 65 or 70 at this point. But he was on like
captain of the Notre Dame football team, right?
He was captain. Yeah. So this guy, his name's Greg Collins, and he was captain of the Notre Dame football team that won a national championship in 1975. He was captain the year that Rudy was on the team. Now he tells a completely different story of Rudy Rudiger than most people see in the movie, and I won't ruin it for everybody. But we had him on the show, and he talked about that a little bit. But he was like, tell your wife Mary I said hi, and I'm like, that's my mom. Like, he was very confused, but yeah, he was on Knots Landing in the 80s. So he went from college where he won a national championship in 1975 with Notre Dame. Then he goes to the pros for 7 years, played with O.J. Simpson. Then he goes and he's on TV and he's on Full House like 12 times. He's real good friends with Coulier, and then he's in all these movies, a lot of Michael Bay movies, including
Home Improvement.
Yeah, and The Rock.
Armageddon.
He was on Jerry Steinfeld or whatever you said. He was on that show. So he was on The Rock. He's the one when they drop the air conditioner on that guy and his legs start to twitch. He's one of the bad Marines from The Rock. He's in a bunch. He's in Con Air. He's in
Armageddon.
Armageddon. Yeah. He's in Armageddon. He's one of the astronauts that go with the miners.
Yeah.
Because that's who you would send if there was an asteroid.
Yeah. Don't train astronauts to dig. You train diggers to be astronauts. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Makes total sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Anyways, but if you look him up, same thing. Has had a career and has probably been in 600 things. Is always a security guard, always a cop, always an army person, always like whatever. The one that you guys will know him from, because everyone's like, who is this guy? He is on The Office. You watch The Office?
Yeah.
Joe?
Yeah.
When Michael Scarn does that movie, remember he does the movie on there?
I don't remember that one.
There's a movie that he has been working on. His name, he goes by Michael Scarn, and it's called Deep Threat Midnight.
Okay.
He starts off the movie and walks.
This must have been like after season 5, because I didn't really watch after season 5.
Threat Level Midnight. That's what it's called. What did I say the first time? Yeah, so Threat Level Midnight is the name of the movie on the show, and he's in that. He starts it off, and he's the FedEx driver who's like, I have a special delivery from Michael Scarn, and he pulls out a gun, and then Michael kills him, and that's how the thing starts. So he's in that. But anyways, but yeah, same thing, like typecast, but again, he makes a living.
Yeah. No, I couldn't believe it. So I was like, oh, I got punched in the face by that girl.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. So if anybody's seen Ozark and seen the episode where the cop, what is she doing it? Walks up on him and tells him to get out of there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Keep moving.
Right. Moving along.
Nothing to see here. Speaking of nothing to see here, guess what call I got on Friday? I pick up the phone, thought it was a mistake call. Hi, is this Cal? I go, yeah. This is blah, 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 appliance repair. We have your part for your dishwasher.
Are you kidding me?
He's coming to my house next Monday. This is it. It all comes full circle.
It only took 6 months for the part to come in. Jeez. What's it made of? Virgin Mermaid scales? They had to like send somebody up like a mountain to slay a dragon and like take the one scale that covered the dragon's wiener to like make the part.
I said to the lady, I go,
these parts only come along once every millennia.
Yeah, we got to get back to that guy who got it super weird with our repair guy and had him in his basement to look at guitars. So the big question is with the park going to show up with this guy, or do you think he sends someone else? He's going to send someone else, right?
Send someone else. Yeah. Yeah, I say it's somebody else.
For those of you who don't remember that episode, he came out and I made it weird. Like I normally.
I mean, you calcagnoed it. You calcagnoed it. Definitely. I love it.
And he showed up.
Yep. And you pushed your guitars on him and your musical history. Oh.
And I thought we had a moment, and we didn't. And then the next time he was supposed to come out, he like bailed on us.
Just ghosted you.
Yeah, like we called and they were like, oh, he's gonna come out between like 1 and 3, and by 5 p.m. I'm like, is he gonna show? They were like, he doesn't have any parts with him. I'm like, then what is
who gonna show? They're covering for him. Is who gonna show? You're like Jason, the guy. Yeah. They're like, no, Jason works here.
Yeah,
you hear him in the back. You hear him in the back. Hey, tell him I don't work here. He does. Tell him he doesn't work. I mean, he doesn't work here.
Also, tell him I'm not interested in coming over to see his guitars again.
Also, tell him his guitar collection was stupid and a waste of time. There was nothing. He had nothing that I couldn't find if I had 15 minutes in a Guitar Center. Everything that he had, I could get off Amazon. And I had to look for it the next day for being a Prime member.
Tell him to look up the word vintage. That's not what any of those guitars were.
Right.
Tell him to also look up run of the mill, because that's what he was working with.
Just because they're worn out and cracked doesn't mean they're vintage. It just means they're made out of crap wood. We're bought from J.C. Penney's Christmas catalog.
I bet he doesn't even know how to play them. I bet he doesn't.
He can play Wonderwall because he played Wonderwall for me 3 times.
Ask him if he knows how to play anything other than Wonderwall. Just trust me. Just trust me. Just trust me. Just trust me.
So, yeah, Jason doesn't work here anymore. Jason has never worked here anymore. But I was just wondering, do you play anything else but Wonderwall? How do you slide that into conversation?
They look at him.
I did it. He said no.
He's going for it. I think he's falling for it.
He says he can play Wonderwall at the beginning of MASH.
So anyway, he's going to be coming out. So that'll be good. And also, I want to let you know the good news is that I got absolutely dissed and ghosted by a college radio podcast. So I got that going for me as well.
Tell us about this one.
Okay, so
I gotta put my glasses on real quick.
You're like, because I can't listen without my glasses.
No, I was tired of seeing you.
What?
I was tired of seeing you all blurry. Like I've been looking at the computer screen, and it's just my eyes are so bad. I can't believe they get worse by the week. I'm gonna be blind by 2020. By 2022, I'll be blind.
Yeah, as if 2020 can't get any worse, you go blind.
Right? Isn't it weird that I'm going blind in 2020? Like, isn't that good vision?
Yeah.
That's supposed to be good vision. And I'm going blind by 2022. I'll be like Harry Carey. I'll have these big, huge glasses.
Coke bottles. Hey, what's more annoying? The person who's like, actually, I have 2018 vision, or the person who says, I've got perfect pitch.
Who's more annoying? The eye guy, because perfect pitch is legit. Like someone who has perfect pitch, I think that's like a superpower.
So do I, but I think sometimes people think when they have a good voice that they also have perfect pitch.
I get you there. But if somebody actually has perfect
pitch, I'm not saying somebody who has. I'm saying somebody who talks about it.
Jamie Roberts, he has perfect pitch. You could be like,
thinks it's your wedding.
Yeah, you could be like Jamie, sing like in F sharp minor 7th, and she'll be like dead on.
Things are
Yeah.
Cover
She
your
can
head.
it's amazing. Or like you can just play a note and be like, "What's this?" And you're like, "Bing," and she's like, "That's an E flat," and you're like,
She's
"Oh my gosh, it is an E flat."
I'm like, bing. She's like, I said, maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. Anyways, okay, so I get a note from my friend Adam Graham, film critic from the Detroit News. And he says, hey, dude, don't be mad at me, but I gave your number to these Central dudes who are doing a podcast about just people who went there. And I go, my first question back to him was, did you tell him I'm not on the radio anymore? He goes, no, I don't think it's that. I think they just want to talk to people that went there. And I go, you should have told them I'm not on the radio anymore. He goes, no, I don't think it matters. I think they're just looking for people to talk to. So flash forward a week. I get an email. Hey, what's up, Cal? My name's blah, blah, blah. I go to Central. Me and my buddy
they
do a
talk
podcast.
like this now. They talk like this now. Bro, you went to Central, bro? When you were here, bro, did you, bro, every bro, buy, bro, beer, bro, before, bro, before, bro, you were, oh my gosh. I can't stand it.
So they email me and say, hey, when are you available? Because we're going to be doing, we want to have you on the show to talk about Central and about basically what you've been doing since then. Let's talk about Central. Yeah, let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things. That may be. Let's fire up chips. Let's fire up chips. Gimme. Get fire up chips. I like that. Let's fire up chips. I said, Chippewas, all the Chippewas. Loud, help me out. Come on. All the ladies, talk about chips, baby.
Oh, go on.
The name of the podcast was called Let's Talk About Chips. Anyway, so they email me and they go, hey, when can you come on? We're looking to have you on or whatever. So I'm like, when would you like me to come on? Like, let's start.
Let me check my schedule.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm available like Tuesday and Thursday this week. Mind you, this was Monday. Wednesday. Writes back. Oh, we're really, really busy. We're so stressed because we just had exams, which I'm like, it's July, bro.
It's July and it's COVID.
Yeah. So we're really, really busy. Let's shoot for next week. And I'm like, okay, what day? 4 days later. Hey, we're ready to do this. What day works for you? How about Thursday? They say to me, and I go, cool. What time? Never heard from them again.
Did you check that spam?
No, spam. That Thursday would have been like 2.5, 3 weeks ago. Like I was like, what just happened? So of course I call Adam and I tell him this whole story, and he's like, they probably found out you weren't on the radio anymore. Adam Graham, my film critic from the Detroit News, and he goes, dude, they probably figured out that you weren't on the radio anymore, and then we're uninterested.
You were like, I feel like you set me up.
Yeah,
I kind of feel like he set you up on that.
Yeah.
He gives your name out. You say, did you tell them? And he acts like it's not a big deal. Then you call him back and tell him what happened. And he unloads on you that's why it's a big deal. Because you're not on the radio. It like makes you feel like crap.
Yeah, and that's what I'm wondering is like, do you think that I still don't have some life lessons to tell people? I mean, I can still tell you about, the time
the do's and don'ts of the business.
Yeah, it seems like I could tell you that.
I wonder if Adam Graham, your friend from the Detroit News, now works for Dave and Chuck. I wonder if he's there. I wonder if he's their film critic, and now he's against you too. And he was setting you up. He was setting you up to look dumb.
Maybe. That could be.
No, but really, in the grand scheme, he didn't really make you feel dumb. It was just a conversation between you and him.
Right, exactly. But I will say, though.
So it's not like these guys, I think it would have been worse if they would have contacted you and been like, hey, we're here with 89X Morning Man, Cal Cagno. So how you doing in your busy schedule? Who'd you guys have on the show this morning? And you're like, I do a podcast on Tuesday nights with my buddy Joe. Last week we talked about Armageddon.
Wrestling. Last week I went through my cousin, who's really my uncle. I mean, my mom's cousin, his entire resume. And
that was
about
the show, and that was one of our
like,
shows.
What else you talking about? I'm like, when I made out with a girl when I was 20.
But I didn't say that I made out with her. I alluded to it so I could therefore not be lying. I could make it seem like I'm trying to be a gentleman and I don't kiss and tell, when really I didn't kiss, therefore I cannot tell.
Yeah, I can't tell anything. So what do you guys want to know?
Do you guys use that?
I'm like, let me lay it out this way. Imagine working for 89X is like working for a college station that's owned by Rodney Dangerfield. You get no respect. Like, you get negative respect. Speaking of Rodney Dangerfield, I want. Do you guys use DAT? How are you guys recording this on DAT?
Hey, you kids, do you know about this thing called Skype, where you can actually get video and audio at the same time? Yeah, I just figured it out a couple weeks ago. You're like, what I did is I ran a laptop into a microphone and then ran that microphone into another laptop, which then ran to the internet into another laptop. I then took all the video files and all the sound files, compressed them into a zip file. Then I had another computer that would unzip that file. I would take out all the audio files and all the video files, and
then I had to match them up so that, it would look like a kung fu movie.
And they're like, oh, all we do is have a $40 microphone that we run into our MacBook Air.
We don't do any of what you just said.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite CD that you guys are listening to?
So what celebrities have you interviewed this week? You're like, oh, crap.
Who's your favorite celebrity? I'm like, yeah.
Do you guys know the manager of her new edition? They're like, yeah, we got him in our phone. He just texted us.
Yeah, this guy from the appliance repair shop. He's gonna be on next.
This Jason dude, he was awesome. He came down and looked at my drum collection. He was so into it. Came back the next day off the clock just to hang out.
Hang on a second. The manager from New Edition's calling to ask to be on the show again.
Right, third time today. Jeez. You're like, I don't know if my texts are coming through clearly because there's this girl who does my eyebrows, and she's I think you follow her on Twitter, and she is all over me.
Her name's Olivia.
Yeah.
I just got my eyebrows done today.
Did you?
Yeah, Olivia doesn't work there anymore.
I did mine yesterday. I took a clipper, put like a 2-guard or a 1-guard, and just like zip, zip, done.
The best part is that you did it with one of the two, and you're like 2-guard or a 1-guard, because when you don't have big eyebrows, it doesn't matter. Like if I did mine with a 1-guard, forget it.
Yeah.
Like I would look like I look like a powder.
Yeah, even when
powder didn't have eyebrows, I don't think.
No. Even when I have my eyebrows, like the worst old man overgrown eyebrows I've ever had, people are like, "You don't really have eyebrows, do you?" And I'm like, other than the 2 that are hanging down, poking me in the eye, no, I guess not.
Like, no, I don't have a ton. So I was talking about Rodney Dangerfield. I tried to watch Back to School yesterday because it's on Amazon Prime. When was the last time you saw that movie?
Oh, I mean, probably 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
You're good. Just keep it at that.
All those movies. We've talked about it before.
We romanticize them that they're better than they were.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, well, no, the movie that I was going to say, like Tommy Boy. Like Tommy Boy is a movie that, like, when you talk about it, it's hilarious. You could sit there and you can die laughing. But then, like, when you turn it on, I am going to admit it's still a good movie,
But
it's
when he
just
does
not,
fat guy in a little coat, do you laugh at it?
not really.
You're just kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you're like, oh, that, I remember laughing at that back in the day.
Yeah.
But like most of those like 80s movies just do not hold up. Very few of them do.
Yeah, so I tried to put that on the other day, and my daughter was sitting there playing Sims while it was on. Now, the one thing that I did look at on the thing was it said PG-13. Now, I have a 13-year-old daughter, so we don't like gratuitous nudity in our movies. Dude, there's straight up boobs in that movie.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there's boobs.
In the very beginning when he's looking for his son.
Yeah.
Like he's looking for son at the college and wanders into the bathroom and, pulls the curtain back. And someone's like, oh, hey, don't look at me. Right. But covers everything but the goods.
And in the 80s, it was like, well, it's nudity, but it's not sexual nudity. Like they're not in the act of sex.
Is that why?
Yes. So if it was a bare body part, it was considered PG-13. Like no one's squeezing it, no one's kissing it, no one's, So shall I go on? Hey, shall I go on to all the other things you can do to them?
Can't do that. No one's motorboating them. No one's smelling them. No one's putting cottage cheese on them. I'm like,
no one's throwing bologna at them. But in the 80s, like that's what it was. Like as long as it was bare body, other than like junk, like crotches. Yeah. But as long as it wasn't done in a sexual nature, it could stay PG-13.
I did not know that.
Looks like you need more flypaper.
I do, dude. I have one that's like getting around my hair because I use Crisco. I use Crisco.
I'm a Dapper Dan man.
Anyway, so I tried to watch that the other day, but so then Wendy got done. She was on the Peloton, and then she sat down and she was doing something else. And then after about 15 minutes, she was just like, "Can we turn this off?" She's like, "It is so depressing." She's like, everything about it. And Rodney Dangerfield had some good lines. Don't get me wrong. He's funny, but he's the best in Caddyshack. He's funny in this or whatever. But you got Robert Downey Jr., who I forgot was in that movie. He's like the friend who's like, I don't know if back then he was supposed to be like
Tony Stark. He was supposed to be a young Tony Stark going to college.
What if they tied it all together? I'm like, he's in this movie. His name's Tony Stark.
And he goes back to school with Rodney Dangerfield.
Anyways, none of his teeth touch.
Oh, really?
Like, he must have got not like everybody in Hollywood has this big old chomper veneers, but he's none of his teeth touch. He's got like this big hair. He's like super femmy, and he's like, I don't know, I don't know if he's supposed to be gay or they're not saying it because maybe that wasn't a thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember it.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's in the movie, and my daughter's like, "Is that Tony Stark?" She called him Tony Stark. I'm like, "That's Morton Downey Jr." You're Morton Downey Jr.
Yeah,
you know who that is?
Real guy.
Yeah. What was his deal?
The big mouth.
Yeah, he had a big mouth that would smoke on set.
Yeah,
and
would just chew people out.
Yeah, he just was like the guy that was like, "I tell it like it is. I don't care."
Yeah. It would be like the equivalent of Jerry Springer if Jerry Springer wasn't trying. Like, people go on Jerry Springer and air all their crap, and Jerry just kind of showcases it.
Yeah.
The Morton Downey Jr. show, people would come on the show and air their crap, and then Morton Downey would just tell them off.
He would belittle them.
Yeah, he would. He would just trash them on national television.
Yeah. So anyway, Robert Downey Jr. is in the movie, and like I said, I got about halfway through. Oh, and then Johnny from the Karate Kid he's in it. He's the the jerky guy.
Name? Matt Skiba. No, what's his name? What's that guy's name?
What is his name? I can't remember. He was like the a-hole in all the movies for a while.
Yeah.
Blonde.
Yeah.
Glorious
but in real life, he's like a good Christian dude.
I think he's a good guy.
Yeah, and then he went back and did what was that called? Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai. I never saw it, but I heard it was great.
The first season was fantastic. After that, it got bad.
Like Eastbound and Down, the first season was really good, and then they were like,
"Oh,
we are completely out of ideas."
And I were quoting that the other day at work.
But there's a great example.
Yeah, they got a purple hue.
Yeah, but think about that. When you watch it, it's funny, but when you talk about it, it's even better. Woo! When you talk about Leslie, or no, what's his name? Ashley Schaefer from Ashley Schaefer BMW. when you talk about Will Ferrell it's funnier. Same thing with Talladega Nights. We watched that not too long ago, and
Yeah,
you know,
all those are funnier than when you first saw them, but especially when you're going to like show your kids. Like I tried to show my kids, I don't think it was Tommy Boy. I think it was Black Sheep. And they did think Black Sheep was funny.
Okay.
But they didn't think it was as funny as I thought it was back then.
We watched Billy. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say even now it's still funny, but it's not as funny as when I first saw it.
Right. Yeah. We watched Billy Madison and they were like,
yeah,
I don't get this. Like, why is this funny?
Right.
You know, and he's like, shampoo is better. You know what I mean? He's doing that thing where, and almost for the first.
Looking at me, Swan.
For the first.
We would die laughing back then, and now it's like, what?
Look at him, he's hilarious. You know what I mean? Like what he does, like he's about to call the shit poop. Yeah.
yeah.
Go to school, so I am not a fool, or whatever. He's always like, he's got the cardigan sweat. Yeah, but like watching it now, you're like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the same. My kids love Adam Sandler, but they haven't seen Billy Madison. They haven't seen Happy Gilmore.
They've only seen Uncut Gems.
Right. Uncut Gems.
Sandy Wexler.
Right. No, they did like Big Daddy. They liked Grown Ups 2. Like that's the Adam Sandler that they know.
Right. Yeah.
Playing like parent roles.
I feel like everybody likes Adam Sandler. Like I honestly don't know anybody that doesn't like him. And we liked him in that movie, Bedtime Stories. He's funny in that one.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, I forgot about all those.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Like
Click. About he had the
Click
remote.
It's a little heavy at times. I had Henry Winkler on my old show around that time, and it was like really sad because he was talking about like how he missed his parents and like because like the movie gets a little heavy about his dad and him, right? How he like fast forwards through what his dad talks and stuff. Do you remember that movie?
Oh, I don't.
But yeah, there's basically the moral of that story is that like if you fast forward through life or mute people, that you'll miss out on opportunities to be with them, and then before you know it, they're dead.
Wait, say all that again. When you fast forward through life,
or mute people when they're talking, because that's what he would do. Remember, anything he didn't want to deal with, he would just fast forward through.
Okay.
And then but then at the end or towards the end, people were dead, and he didn't have those opportunities to spend time with them because he rushed through everything with the clicker.
Oh, I see. I never saw the movie. My kids saw it. I never saw it.
That is awesome. You go, he's really good at Click. I do that whole thing. You go, I've never seen it. Oh, you want me to comment? I've never seen it. Sorry.
Nothing. I got nothing.
But
Henry
that's not
Winkler.
a Rusty move. That was what Russ used to do to me on the radio. Nothing. You'd be like, dude, we get paid to do this. You have to have something.
Yeah. Well, for a minute I thought you were still talking about Henry Winkler.
Yeah, Henry Winkler's in that movie.
I like Henry Winkler in Here Comes the Boom with Kevin James. Oh, Kevin James, Here Comes the Boom is a good movie. Kevin James kind of put out like Paul Blart Mall Cop. Then he did The Zookeeper.
Yeah, which wasn't great.
Then he did Here Comes the Boom. Then Paul Blart 2.
Yeah.
I love all those movies.
I like Kevin James a lot. And I will say one of the nicest people I've ever had on the radio with me. I actually did an interview with him one time. Chuck the Freak was having a baby. So it was me and Dave did the interview.
Oh, wow.
And he had everything written down.
Oh, wow. Tell me about that.
So he had what was Dave like? Was he exactly like you think? But he had like our names down. So like he would be like, hey, Cal, Dave, good morning, guys. What's going on? So anyways, oh, great question, Cal. And I was like, dude, this guy's like done his homework. He doesn't have to do that. Like so a lot of times when you get these people to do these interviews, they've done 16 in a row. They don't know what station they're talking to, and you don't call them. Like it's like you get a phone call. It's like, hey, what's up? This is Joe from Paramount. We're going to have Kevin James on the line in just a second. So, all right, we got Kevin. You've got 4 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're like, hey, what's up, Kevin? It's, whatever. We're going to talk to you. Hey, guys, what's up? And then you do the interview, you record it, and then they'll be like, all right, guys, 4 minutes, stop, wrap it up. Like they come on because they're listening the whole time.
Like a payphone. They come on.
Exactly. What was always so funny was Drew and Mike used to like just push it. Like they would leave that part in. And I always thought it was so funny. But they'd be like, all right, so anyways, blah, blah. And they're like, all right, Drew and Mike, wrap it up. That's 4 minutes. And they'd be like, so anyways, what do you think about global warming? And then eventually they'll hang up on you. They'll just, because they got to get to the next one, right? Like they will just hang up on you. But yeah, Kevin James is really cool. I like him in all the stuff that he's in, though. And I'll tell you what, if you can do a camp like Sandler's camp, he'll put you in all his movies forever, even if they're not good.
Yeah, no, he does. I mean, you think about it, it's Kevin James, Steve Buscemi, Chris Rock, David Spade. Who am I missing?
Dan Patrick.
Dan Patrick's in a lot. Yeah. Those two guys.
There's like Rob Schneider.
Yep. There's a couple of guys who are in, again, all of his movies.
Yeah.
But
Colin Quinn.
Colin Quinn,
and then the guy with the lazy eye.
Correct. That's who I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, there's another guy that plays the quarterback in The Waterboy, and he's also he's in all those movies.
Yes,
he's in Grandma's Boy. He's in that movie too. I don't know what his name is.
No, neither do I.
He's in Happy Gilmore. He's the bum. He's like the homeless guy.
In Happy Gilmore. Oh, I'm thinking in Big Daddy. I was like, no, that was Steve Buscemi.
Yeah. But he's the homeless guy in that one. Like he puts him in all of his movies.
Yeah.
But I heard Schneider got on his bad side because he was on Stern one day and talking about how they asked him straight up. They're like, "What did Schneider do that got on your bad side?" And he's like, "We're good now. That's all you got to know." Because he missed out on a couple of those because I think he got a little too big for his britches.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and said something.
He was trying to throw around that Deuce Bigelow contract money.
Did you know that Rob Schneider and David Spade didn't get along?
Same person?
No, they didn't get along, hated each other, so they made that movie Benchwarmers. Sandler produced it and was like, all right, you got 6 weeks, get along. And now they're friends because of that.
Really?
Yeah, David Spade was on Stern again talking about it. Yeah, and he said, they weren't even on speaking terms when they showed up. So it's him, John, what's his name?
Hader.
The guy. Yeah, Hader, is that his name?
Yeah, from Napoleon Dynamite.
Still love him. I like him in everything. I like him in Blades of Steel, too. I think he's great in all of them. I like all of them. But yeah, so they weren't even on speaking terms. So yeah, the Sandman brought them together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't
know. Was that after Grown Ups?
Before.
Okay. Before.
Yeah, dude, we watched The Longest Yard the other night. Did you ever seen that?
I have.
Good.
But I can't remember. I mean, I've seen it once probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's got him and Burt Reynolds.
Prison football.
Yeah, he's a professional quarterback who did some point shaving, got put into prison for drunk driving because he was on parole. And then they're like, oh, you know what? Since you're a professional MVP from the NFL and you're 5'4" or whatever Sandler is, you know what I mean? You should start this football league, and it's kind of the ragtag thing or whatever. But when you watch it, though, even Schneider's in that. Like, you can do it. Like he does the you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. You can do it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So there you go. One last thing. That's going to do it for episode 141 of Cal Cagnon Radio. We thank you for being here today. Where can they find you on the worldwide interwebs?
You can find me on Instagram. My personal is Jerk Yorkie, or kind of my
professional.
My professional one for barbecuing and other stuff is Average Jerk BBQ. That's where you can find me.
Find me.
You can also find me in a dark alley if you want. You can punch me in the face like Danielle did.
You want a piece of this? You know where to find me. You won't. You won't roll up.
You won't do it, though.
Okay. Either way, find me at Cal Cagno Radio on the usual places. We're around. Anything you want to talk to us about, email the show. We can talk about other things. If there's something you're like, I really want to hear your views on, fill in the blank.
Yeah, for sure. We'd love that. Even if you just have questions for each one of us, and it's just, what's your favorite color? What's your, how big is your butthole? Yeah. Anything like that.
How long did you can hold your breath?
Right. We will, by all means, we'll talk about it. Because in all honesty, with COVID right now, it's kind of tough. It's me and Cal kind of get together. We don't do any show prep, but the most show prep we do is, hey, what do you have to talk about? And usually the answer is, nothing. Let's just wing it.
Yeah, I'm like, I can always talk about that appliance repair guy again.
Yeah. So if you guys do have stuff, feel free to send it to us, and we will we'll answer anything that you ask.
Have a great day, everybody. We love you. See ya.